Brandon LaRue. So I posted on my page recently about some health and fitness topics that people wanted to learn more about, okay? And sometimes I take advantage of some of the knowledge and stuff that is up here that I use to help a lot of people. And this is just another avenue to connect and educate people with some good, tried and true, factual, scientific stuff, okay? And most of the questions that people had revolved around nutrition. And doesn't surprise me, this is one of the most confusing topics for people. And it's funny because as confusing as it may seem, it really doesn't need to be. Okay, nutrition is actually quite simple. And it's just people, when you have the wrong mindset about food and dieting and all the fad crazes and all the ways that information gets into our hands nowadays, it's no wonder people are confused, but it doesn't need to be that way. Okay, a common thread in the questions were determining macros. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that, but then I also I'm going to throw in some tidbits too about counting and macronutrients, and I don't think it's the best way to do it, but it's certainly a way and an effective way. So let's talk about it, okay? So understand that macros, a lot of times people are like, what are macros? Macros are your protein, carbs, and fats, okay, that comprise up the calories in our food. Okay, so just to keep this video short, I want to keep them to 5 minutes or less. I'm going to walk you through an example of how you can determine your own macros. Okay, so here it is. Number one, you got to determine your caloric needs. Okay, I'm gonna in a link below the video, I'm gonna post in the comments below the video, I'm gonna post a link to a calculator, really advanced calculator where you can input some information about yourself to determine your caloric needs, okay? This is important, okay? Contrary to what anyone else wants to tell you, any effective fat loss program happens because of a caloric deficit, okay? All macros are great. Carbohydrates are fantastic. Proteins are fantastic. Fats are fantastic. Don't fall in love with one or the other, okay? They're all great. Learn to love all of them. Okay, so that being said, we have to understand our caloric needs first. Okay, this is the big whopper. All right. After that, some people, there's a lot of evidence about determining your body type in relation to how those calories get dispersed amongst the macronutrients. Okay, so here's the three different body types: are mesomorphs, endomorphs, ectomorphs. I just kind of abbreviated meso, endo, ecto. Okay, and mesomorphs are typically your muscle-bound people. They just are naturally athletic physique. Okay, and then there's the endomorphs, who are naturally rounder. Okay, softer, and then ectomorphs are kind of the tall and skinny. All right. And so these are the different macronutrient breakdowns based on the body type. Okay, for mesomorphs, it's 40% carb, 30% protein, 30% fat. Endos is 25% carb, 35% protein, 40% fat. Ectomorph, 55% carb, 25% protein, 20% fat. Okay, I always encourage people to start with the meso. It's kind of a blend between all of them. And carbs are your friend. Okay, carbs are really great for fat loss. Carbs are really great if you're also strength training and exercising. We need those things. Okay, so I did an example here of a 3,000 calorie person with a mesomorph breakdown, 40, 30, 30. Okay, and you got to understand that in order to do these calculations on your own, a carbohydrate is 4 calories per gram, okay? A protein is 4 calories per gram, and a fat is 9 calories per gram, okay? So we're going to do some simple math here to determine the carb, protein, and fat breakdown of a 3,000 calorie diet, okay? So you take 3,000 times that by 40%, and you get 1,200 calories, okay? 3,000 times 30%, 900. 3,000 times 30% is 900, okay? What I'm going to do here is, in order to get into grams of carbohydrates, I got to divide by 4, okay? And with that, I get 300 grams of carbohydrates. My proteins here, I have 900 calories. Divide that by 4, I get 225 grams. My fats, I get 9. So fats are 9 calories per gram. So I have 900 calories to work with. Divide that by 9, I get 100 grams. Okay, so 300 grams of carbs a day, 225 grams of protein a day, 100 grams of fat a day. Okay, that's a lot of food. Okay. Per meal, so you can break this down one step further, and typically, this is kind of a personal example for me. This is about what I have to do. I just made the numbers easy to navigate. Okay, so eating 5 meals a day, that means at each meal, all you gotta do is take these numbers and divide them by 5, okay? That means 60 grams of carbohydrates per meal, 45 grams of protein per meal, 20 grams of fat per meal. It's a lot of food, okay? Now, to make it a little bit simpler, you know, I've done this before. I've done the meticulous counting, and unless that's your personality type, I think it's a recipe for information overload and adherence to get low, okay? Anything that I advise people with nutritionally, it's got to pass the first test of what's sustainable long term so they can have a healthy lifestyle, okay? And I'm going to do another video on habit-based eating that I think is way simpler, okay? But I'm going to kind of allude to it here with these numbers right here, 3, 2, and 1, okay? This basically, if you look at your hand, all right, this is about the size, serving size of a carbohydrate source. So if I got 3 servings per meal, this is excuse me, a carb portion of about the size of your hand is roughly 20 grams. So if I have 3 palm-sized portions of carbs, whether that be a piece of toast, a piece of fruit, and maybe some rice, okay? And then for protein, same thing. Palm and thickness of your hand is the size of a protein. So if I have around about 2 palm sizes of protein, whether that be 2 chicken breasts or fish or you name it, steak, eggs, okay? So I want to make sure that I have 2-ish palm sizes of that, and then a thumb, okay, is about, the volume of your thumb is about 15 grams of 15 grams of fat. Okay, so about a thumb size of fat. So whether that be avocado, or maybe it's a strip or 2 of bacon, maybe it's olive oil or something that you're adding to your meal. Okay, it makes it easier visually when I'm making food, because I don't want to weigh my food. I don't want to have to run all these numbers. Okay, that gets to be too much for most people. All right, it can be way simpler, and even simpler than what I just did here, and we'll go over that in a moment. Another thing that some people were asking too was like determining macros for CrossFitters, determining macros to keep lean muscle while losing fat. Okay, if you're a CrossFitter and like one that trains frequently, you're gonna want to at least be at the meso. Okay, you need carbs. You need carbs for strength training, explosive type of training. You do. Okay, good luck maintaining a good quality training status without them. Okay, so that would be just my advice. Okay, and then a lot of this is self-experimentation too. All right, so you gotta play around with some of these things, but it always boils back down to this: is your caloric needs. Okay, and then the other one was losing body fat while keeping lean muscle. Okay, and this is an important thing, is making sure that you have adequate protein. Again, another reason why I chose the Mezzo as a good starting point, because it's gonna have your caloric needs with an adequate amount of protein.